What's up, everybody? So here's my old school review of Gattaca, written and directed by Andrew Niccol. If you don't know who Andrew Niccol is, he's done some other really great movies. I'm talking about Lord of War with Nicolas Cage, In Time with Justin Timberlake. And the thing that he really does well is, to me, it's like the highest form of science fiction. Because one of the hallmarks, is, in my estimation, of science fiction at the highest level is it kind of predicts what's going to happen in the future in some capacity. And like, with In Time, it's like kind of that whole idea of people trying to make their lives even longer. The only difference in that movie is like the time they have to live is literally on their skin, and it counts down, and then you can buy or sell however much time you have. And you can see how people are trying to do that with biohacking and all these other supplements and lifestyle changes that they implement so that they can live longer and healthier. With Gattaca, if any of you have ever heard of the company CRISPR, Gattaca was basically talking about this back in 1997 when the movie came out. It's basically genetic manipulation. It's like, okay, at first it's always going to be, okay, what are the genetic ailments that we do not have the treatment for to get rid of or even tamper so much? So how about let's just take it out of our DNA completely? And that's kind of what CRISPR is working on. So if you have ALS or Parkinson's or type 1 diabetes or Alzheimer's, they can take it out of your genetic code and then you don't have to live with it. But what the movie basically posits, the more philosophical question of the movie, is if, yes, you can change all of that, what else would you change? So, and then you see how you can manipulate the DNA of everybody, and then it becomes the whole a competition of whose genetics are better, like an active competition instead of it just being, a sporting event of some kind, where that seems to be talked about a little bit, but now it's everywhere, really. So that's kind of one level of the movie, is just the philosophical element of the movie. The other is basically Ethan Hawke's character. He plays Vincent Anton Freeman, who wants to be an astronaut. That's his dream in life. And he did not have his genetics altered. His parents decided to do it the old-fashioned way. But he has all of this negative attributes in that world. He has myopia. He has a heart condition. And so all of that put together is like, no, we're not going to take you when we have the best of the best of the best genetically to choose from. And then you have Jude Law's character, Jerome Morrow, who does have the genetics, but he also has a very particular reason why he cannot be a normal functioning member of society. And so Ethan Hawke's character assumes his identity to join Gattaca, which is like the NASA of this world. Somebody in the Gattaca organization is brutally murdered. So there's cops everywhere collecting evidence to figure out who the perpetrator is. So in a way, it's kind of like a whodunit. You just know that you think it's not Ethan Hawke's character. And then what really is bothering him is not like, oh, are they going to think I killed him? Is, are they going to find out who I really am? And so then there's that tension and suspense going on throughout the movie. It is a gorgeous movie. After doing the podcast, I decided to watch the movie one more time because I hadn't seen it in a couple of years. I just definitely remember the impact it had on me because I watched it a lot. Not when it came out. It was years later when it finally came on TV, and anytime it did, I watched it. I remember it was nominated for a number of Oscars, including production design and some of those technical categories. And the movie is still gorgeous. It's got like this interesting green and yellow hue in the filter. That's kind of, what you see it through. But also, like, there are these other elements that are really interesting that you normally don't see in science fiction movies, specifically nature. You know, if you think of a lot of science fiction movies that have come around, some of them are in space or like this alternate reality, but nature, like you don't see trees or grass or anything like that. And this one, like you see that, you see the ocean, you know, so that's kind of it grounds it a little bit, makes it a little bit more palatable. Uh, and some of the things like all the cars are electric, you know, so there's charging stations. Sound familiar? You know, and so, but also what's really interesting are just some of the decisions as far as the wardrobe. Like everyone's dressed like they would, like it reminds me of Mad Men. You know, if you ever watched that series, you know, men are dressed in suits, very buttoned down. The hair is like very, you know, um, carefully, meticulously put together. Uh, there is like this element of everyone who is genetically enhanced of like they're almost like robots. Like there's very little emotion being presented. You know, I thought that was an interesting choice. You know, I guess maybe coming from the idea of like, yes, I'm genetically superior, so I don't need to show emotion. There's nothing to be happy about. I'm expected to do all the things that I am doing. You know, so that is really interesting. The thing that I love the most is just the simple aspect of a man doing everything he possibly can to achieve his dream. Like literally anything he needs to do, he will do, you know, and it's inspiring. And that's actually the reason I mentioned this in the podcast of why uh, I wanted to name my son Vincent. You know, that character in this movie is just so incredibly strong from a spiritual standpoint. Like, there's nothing that's going to stop him from achieving his goal. You know, now my son's name isn't Vincent; it's the Portuguese version, Vicente. You know, I live in Brazil, so and my wife is Brazilian, so that was the compromise that we made. Um, but yeah, it had a lasting effect on me, and watching it again, it was like, yes, this movie still holds up. It's still an incredible story. The execution from Andrew Niccol is incredible. The twist at the end is heartbreaking and beautiful at the same time. It's just one of those that I don't think people watch it enough from my in my eyes. I mean, of course, I've watched it, you know, probably 20, 30 times at this point. Um, but it's incredible. The only reason why I give it a 9.5 out of 10 is I wish there were like just a couple of more moments of levity as far as humor. There are some moments that actually are funny, you know, like a comment here, especially by Jude Law's character. Um, and I wish there was just a little bit more of that, but it's as close to perfect as it could possibly be. And I loved every minute of it. Anyways, what about you guys? Let me know what you think in the comments below. Smash that like button, give me a follow, and I'll see you guys next time.